Hey everybody, Doug Rucker here, PressureCleaningschool.com. JRod, what's it used for? How do I use it? How do I set it up? Where do I use it? What kind of machines can I use it with? And how did it get its name? Those questions about JRods and a lot more coming up next. All right, guys, JRod. JRods came along a few years ago. There was a guy, I believe, if I remember the story correctly, that worked at Pressure Tech, Bob Williams at Pressure Tech, and had an employee named JRod, and I believe he took 4 of the little quick connects, the plugs, 1/4-inch plugs, welded them together, and it became known as a nozzle holder, but later was named the JRod after JRod. So that's how the JRod nozzle holder got its name. Now what is it? That's what it is. It's a nozzle holder. Used to be back in the old days, you know, with our pressure washers, we got these tips, color-coded, yellow, green, white, red, black, and each one had a different fan pattern, spray pattern. They're rated for your gallon per minute. For instance, this says 15,045, so that means the angle of the spray pattern is a 15 degree, and it's rated for a 4.5 gallon per minute machine. This is a 0 degree tip. 0045 is what it says, so that's going to shoot us straight. This is a lot of people call it the red tip. A lot of people suggest you throw it away. I don't throw them away. Well, I never threw them away. They were always kind of handy. There were certain situations you could use them for, especially second-story gutters, because they had kind of a spiral on the end of it, and if you got it kind of just right and knew what you were doing and had experience, you could clean, you know, mildew and stuff off of gutters or whatever. But anyway, these are the nozzles that we always used to use, and we'd keep them in our pocket and change as we needed. The black one was your chemical soap tip. So a lot of times we would, cleaning vinyl siding or stucco or whatever, we would just apply with our pressure washer using this downstream, and then we'd switch it to water and rinse with this, as long as it didn't need any pressure. That was soft washing way back then. Soft washing via downstreaming is the original soft washing method. So anyway, that's how we used to do it, and carry them in our pocket and have to dig into our pocket and change them out and all that kind of stuff. So along came JRod, and he came up with the JRod. And as far as I know, that's where it started. I haven't heard anything earlier than that or anything different, but I always called it the 4-banger, but it's JRod, 4-banger, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. But that's basically what this is these nozzles come threaded like this, 1/4-inch threads on them, and you can take these and put them into your JRod, screw them down. Of course, you want to Teflon tape them, protect them and all that kind of stuff. I believe it's a 1/2 inch wrench, 1/2 inch or 9/16, I can't remember. I'll show that to you in another video. But anyway, that's what a JRod is. That's how it was named. And it's basically taking 4 nozzles that you are going to use, a soap high, a rinse high, soap low, rinse low nozzles. So in the next video here, I'll explain to you how these are used and what applications you use them, that type of thing. Okay guys, so In this video, I'm going to talk about the nozzles and exactly what they're used for and how you can tell what is what and that type of thing. So in this nozzle here and in this nozzle here, this is your soap high nozzle. This is your soap low nozzle. Okay, you see how the hole is a little bit bigger on this one versus this one. These are both 0-degree tips, but the hole, the orifice size, is a little bit smaller on this one than this one. Same thing on the fan tips. The soap nozzle is the orifice size, or the hole, is a little bit bigger than the rinse low nozzle. So what happens is when you use these and you're downstreaming, these two are going to draw your soap mix, your bleach mix, from your chemical tank or your bucket. So if you rinse, you've applied it to your house, now you're ready to rinse, you should be able to use this one if it's up high or this one down low, and it'll shut the flow of your bleach mix coming to your hose so you can rinse with only rinse water. Now it's going to take you, 20 seconds, 30 seconds maybe for all the bleach to get down the line before you get to rinse water. So that's the basics of what your nozzles are inside. These are the nozzles for a 8 gallon per minute machine. These are the nozzles for like a 5 gallon per minute machine. So they're all going to be rated for the gallon per minute of your machine, but they're all going to have soap high, rinse high, soap low, rinse low. So this rinse low nozzle is going to give you a little bit more pressure, but it's still safe to use. It's still soft washing, like if you're cleaning brick or stucco and you just got to get some pesky stains off. And you can just use this nozzle, but just make sure that you are, staying off the surface and not getting, right on it. If you got right on it, if you've got the pressure coming out, you can run your hand across this nozzle safely. It's not going to hurt it. I wouldn't do it right at the top, but back off a little ways, and you'll be fine. So that's what these nozzles are. This is basically like a shooter tip. These two are shooter tips, much like the Guy Blackman shooter tip. That's a popular shooter tip. We sell tons of these. It's my favorite shooter tip that I've always used. Can you see it? There it is. So when you order one of these, you get just a shooter tip. If you need the 1/4-inch plug fitting, then you need to order that separately. Most guys have the 1/4-inch plug, so we don't sell the shooter tip with it. But anyway, so that's the basics of a JRod. This allows you to soap high. This allows you to soap low, basically downstreaming your bleach mix. And what I always did was I put my nozzles like this, because these are the two that I most often used. And so I put them kind of in order. This one I rarely ever use. And a lot of times I even took, back in the old days, I used to take a Sawzall and cut and just use these two, because I could soap anything I needed to with this and then rinse low if I needed to, or anything with a little pressure. If I wanted to rinse, then I would just rinse with this nozzle, but shut the bleach off at the machine. So lots of different ways you can use a JRod. You just got to get out there and play with it. I'm going to have a video in this too, actually out in the field, showing you how to use it. But just make sure when you put these in that you use your Teflon tape and then screw them in properly. And then these two, you see the angle, these are going to spray out this way. Don't put them like this, because it can interfere and hit the sides of these other nozzles. So always get these going the direction that when the spray comes out, it's not going to go that way. Okay? All right, guys, just to kind of recap on JRod nozzles, I had said I was going to do a video out in the field. I'm going to do a separate video showing the usage of the different shooter tips, nozzles. You know, my favorite shooter tip is the Guy Blackman shooter tip nozzle. My other is, you know, for our 8 gallon per minute machine is just an 0060. Those are really the only two shooter nozzles that I use. So I'm going to do a separate video showing nozzles for downstreaming and also soft washing, because the soft washing with the dedicated pump, you can also get nozzles, JRod nozzles for those. Depending on what kind of pump you have. If you have a 12-volt pump, then you need to make sure that you're getting the nozzles that are rated for that 12-volt pump, because you can't just use any nozzle unless you've got an accumulator. Then you can tip it down or tip it up or whatever. But if you're using an air diaphragm, one of the gas-powered type machines, I think even even boosters, you can use any nozzle that you want. And so we'll talk about the soft washing nozzles in another video, but you can get a JRod for using a dedicated pump if you want to do that as well. So basically, you know, what happens is when you're using these JRod nozzles, and we talked about the smaller nozzles for rinse and the higher ones for soaping. So the higher nozzles, what they do is they drop the PSI of your machine down by about 300 PSI or so. And so that's what allows it to draw the chemical through your bucket or your soap tank, your mixed tank, whatever you're using. When you go back to the rinse nozzles, they are supposed to shut off the flow of your mix by raising that PSI back up. It really just depends. It's kind of a hit or miss thing. Sometimes I've had brand new nozzles that would stop the flow, but I've also had brand new nozzles that wouldn't. It just is a matter of how well they're cut at the factory. When they manufacture these nozzles, it also has to do with the gallon per minute of your machine and the nozzle you're getting and all that kind of stuff. So it's really what I call a crapshoot if that's going to work. We've always just gone back to our machine and turned the ball valve off at the bypass, or lately we were using those little 3-way ball valves, so we were constantly rinsing, and you'll see a video. I've got a video on that. So that's what the JRods, how they work. You know, you can soap and you can rinse and not have to basically dig around in your pockets. It just makes it easier to have your nozzles real handy. One of the things that we do now, just in the last few weeks, is we put 2 of these Shirtsbox remote systems on our truck and our trailer rig, and we are just absolutely loving these. This is a remote system that hooks to your downstream injector, and you simply have a remote that you carry around with you, and you hit A to soap and you hit B to rinse. The beauty of this system is when you hit B and rinse, you're not only rinsing the house, but you're rinsing your injector out too. So you're constantly rinsing it, and it's going to make your downstream injector last longer. These boxes, remote boxes, sell for $600 at DougRuckerStore.com. They're a little bit more expensive than your average $300 one that just has a basic solenoid. I've been through those, used those for years, and we were always changing the solenoids about every 3 to 6 months. This one has a guarantee of, I believe, 6 months on the solenoid part, a year parts and labor. It's got a great warranty. Comes complete with 1 remote. There is no warranty on the remote, so you may want to grab a couple. They're only like 15 or 20 bucks, I think. Guys are always losing them, or they lay them on the bed of the trailer when they're packing up and forget about it. It falls off the trailer going down the road. So you might want to get you a couple of remotes to have, and there's instructions on how to program them. It has detailed instructions how to hook it up. This is a beautiful piece of equipment. I'm very, very impressed with the workmanship and the quality of this. A remote system like this really just, You know, it saves you a lot of time going back and forth to the truck, turning your mix on and off. And so after testing it out in the field, that's when I decided to start carrying them. You've got your brackets in here that you can install this on your truck or your trailer somewhere. Again, just follow the instructions. You've got an antenna. All that comes inside the box, and I highly recommend these things. You've got your electrical wiring, your hose, everything that you need. The beautiful thing about this box too is you've got a light so that you can see it, and I can see it very well even in the daytime, telling me when my soap is on. It's flashing. It's got two different colors, orange and green, and then, you know, of course, when it's not flashing, I know I'm in rinse mode. So that's basically the recap of the JRod nozzles, how they came about, how you use them, what they do, all of that kind of thing. Leave me a question or a comment down below if you have one. Let me know if you use JRod, if you've never used a JRod. These are available at the Doug Rucker store. You have options to choose for if you're downstreaming or using a soft wash dedicated pump. You just have to choose the gallon per minute. Just remember, air diaphragm systems, water boosters, gas powered systems, you can use any size nozzle you want. My actual favorite for soft washing is a little 2 gallon per minute. I just get more distance, and it helps me control my flow so I'm not flooding surfaces. That's not something that I'm a big fan of. Hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please leave us one. Be sure to hit subscribe and hit the like button. We appreciate y'all joining in and just loving all the interaction and the questions and being able to help you guys out. Y'all have an awesome day.